Hello and welcome to Retail Innovation Week. Now in its third year, Retail Innovation Week brings together change makers, business leaders, practitioners to engage in a week of conversation around the future of retail. My name's Piers Fawkes. I'm the host of Retail Innovation Week on day one. Day one, we're going to talk about e-commerce and e-selling. But before we jump into that, let me set some expectations. Over the next 2 hours, we're going to interview a number of experts who work at retail, who work at brands, who are already pioneering change when it comes to e-selling and e-commerce. And then we'll transition to breakout sessions where we'll have solution providers helping us understand how to activate strategies and take us through various case studies. The conference and everything we do is driven through research, and we partner with PSFK, and we leverage their trends research to help us understand what are the main themes when it comes to the future of retail, what are the organizations that we should feature, and who are the speakers that we should invite onto our stage. Let's bring on my partner, Scott Lachat, who runs the research and strategy team at PSFK, to talk about the research they did and how they directed and curated the show today. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Piers. Happy New Year. Great to see you and excited to be kicking off Retail Innovation Week.
That's great. So with this first day, we're going to talk about e-commerce and the new skills. Obviously, over the last 12 months, the landscape has changed quite dramatically, and the skills that are needed e-commerce and e-selling seems to be far more important than it has ever been. Perhaps you can talk about what themes you're seeing, trends you're seeing, and how that shaped the speaker selection.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, the 2020 was all about digital acceleration. And so a lot of the things that were already sort of in play within the digital space have just sort of advanced at a crazy pace. And we see the retailers that are really, and brands that are really succeeding are the ones that have sort of stepped up and really started to think about how e-commerce perhaps is not just no longer a utility, but also a sort of core piece of that retail journey. And so things like creating a human connection within the context of digital are hugely important. Things like that emotional connection that you can create for your consumers, generating some of that excitement within the digital space, hugely important. So the role of content plays a big role in the things that we're seeing in terms of the acceleration of e-commerce. Live streaming, again, and the role of video, both in talking about the products and providing education to consumers, but also creating that one-to-one connection. I think alongside of that, we've certainly seen experimentations with pieces of technology like augmented reality in particular, helping people sort of close that confidence gap, whether that be figuring out how an item might look in their home or actually fit on their physical selves. Recommendations play a big role in a lot of the themes that we're sort of seeing, and how you help consumers narrow down that set of choices. I believe one of our speakers talks about, essentially the idea that that choice is in some ways friction in today's marketplace. So too much choice is not necessarily a great thing. And so helping your customer sort of help narrow those down, whether that be through the use of AI or ultimately, again, through connecting with a member of staff in a remote context. And then certainly social media plays a huge role now, particularly in the way that people are discovering products, but then as a sort of core step in that consumer journey. So how do you link that into that broader e-commerce experience and ultimately help consumers move from awareness or that discovery phase deeper into that purchase path experience?
I'm hoping that having this research-driven approach will not only provide a differentiated conference, but it will also allow us to share ideas and talk about themes that are really relevant to the future of retail?
I would like to think that context is one of the sort of differentiators that sort of sets us apart, is being able to sort of paint that bigger picture and then situate all of this innovation within the context of that. Although I use context twice, but really, really sort of giving this, providing this landscape, and then helping the folks in the audience really see both what is important in innovation and then how to actually implement that within the context of their day-to-day.
That's great, Scott. Thanks so much for your help, and thanks so much for all the research. Looking forward to seeing how it all manifests throughout the rest of the session today. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Piers.
So, having listened to Scott just then, let's have a deep dive and look through the speaker list for today. On this first day of the Retail Innovation Week conference, we are exploring the latest approaches around delivering effective e-commerce and e-selling strategies. The PSF case stage includes pioneers working in brands and retailers to help shape the future of retail. Here are some of the experts who you'll listen to today. Julie Bornstein is founder and CEO of The Yes, an AI-driven commerce platform. Prior to founding The Yes, she was Stitch Fix's chief operating officer, where she helped scale the company to $1 billion in under 6 years. She is going to share insight into the biggest shift she's tracking in terms of how consumers are shopping online, and the importance of personalization in creating a better shopping experience and building more sustained customer relationships. We are thrilled to have Philip Robb join us at Retail Innovation Week. He was co-founder of Breakout, the software-powered retailer and SaaS platform that helps bring brand to life in the real world. He is now leading a new venture, Model Number, the first on-demand home furnishing brand using 3D printing and automation to develop customizable, artfully designed and sustainable furniture. We will be discussing personalization and last-mile logistics, including hyper-local manufacturing. Next up, we have Ram Narayanai, who is a leadership team member of the worldwide consumer channel marketing organization driving global digital strategy plus e-commerce for Microsoft and their consumer products such as Xbox. We will be chatting with Ram about the role of the third-party channel partner and how the company connects with consumers online throughout the purchase path. Ranjan Roy is the VP of Strategy at Adore Me, where he is helping drive the DTC women's wear brand's expansion into new categories, satellite brands, and sustainability initiatives. Today, we are going to speak to Ranjan about the different purchase mechanics that the brand employs, from a la carte to subscription to try at home. We'll also explore how they cultivate their brand ambassadors. Megan Higgins is the Vice President and General Manager, e-commerce and marketplaces at Avalara, the leader in tax compliance automation. We are going to be talking to her about the idea of omnichannel in the context of digital commerce, and what she believes are the key components of a best-in-class digital commerce experience. Coulter Lewis is the founder and CEO of Sunday, a DTC lawn and garden brand that analyzes your weather and soil data to determine exactly what your lawn needs and ships a tailored nutrition plan. We are going to be chatting with Coulter about the importance of building trust with consumers and becoming an authority and the customer experience look like from an initial purchase through to the unboxing experience. Ben Kaufman is the founder and CEO of Camp, what he calls a family experience company that he launched in 2018. Prior to founding Camp, Ben was the Chief Marketing Officer at BuzzFeed. Ben will speak across a couple of days at the conference, and on day one we are going to be chatting about what he sees as the key components to creating an amazing digital shopping experience using social engagement and play. Jason Williams is the VP of Athlete Technology at Dick's Sporting Goods, responsible for the company's software application design and development. He will be speaking on multiple days of the conference, but on day one, we will be discussing the retailer's shift towards digital and how Dick's is leveraging data analytics to inform the business and customizing the experience for customers. And on our breakout stage at 1 p.m., look out for speakers like Neha Singh and Lauren Lyons. As you can see, Retail Innovation Week brings together business leaders, change agents, and practitioners to engage in a week of conversation and debate about the future of retail. Okay, let's get this show started. I'm excited to speak to our next expert, Ben Kaufman. Ben is the founder of Camp, a family experience company that he founded in 2018. And before that, he worked as CMO at BuzzFeed and he ran a number of pioneering startups that explored the future of customer experience. Ben, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Ben, when we first spoke a couple of years ago about camp, you were building these fantastic, highly engaging, interactive, immersive experiences for families. Um, and it was truly pioneering. Obviously, we've gone through some accelerated change. I wonder whether you could possibly just give us a little context of what you tried to achieve before, and then how you may have pivoted to address the kind of our new digital experience.
2+ years ago, we set out to build indoor family experience stores that thrived on hundreds of people packing in, spending hours on end, and enjoying their time together. That was a reality that kind of no longer was possible as soon as March 2020 came along, and camp kind of went through a rapid digitization to take kind of the magic of what we were, which was an answer to what should we do today as a family, and replicate our answers that used to take place in the physical world in terms of we're a place to meet for a birthday, we're a place to spend a Saturday afternoon trying a new craft or activity, and bring all of that programming online and do it in an authentic way. And yeah, 2020 was by no means the year we expected, but I'm glad we went through it, because we're a much more diversified brand now, and we can serve customers in different ways and meet them where they are.
Well, that's gonna. I'm excited to kind of explore how and what you did. I mean, looking back on it, were there some pillars in terms of the customer experience, or what's driving your business today, in terms of the way you interact with your customers?
Early on, we were trying to figure out, like, again, how do we take what the magic of our stores were and translate them to online. As a retailer, the most reflexive thing we could have done is just like make a big e-commerce play. But if we thought about ourselves, the reason people came to camp wasn't just to buy a toy or buy a product, or buy apparel. They came to camp because they wanted the experience of coming to camp. So early on, we made the decision, we're not going to just load up camp.com, our website, with thousands of SKUs you could also buy at Amazon and Walmart and everywhere else. Instead, we're going to focus on the magic of what camp delivered, which was, again, an answer of what to do today. So the first thing we did, this was like March 16th of 2020, like 2 days after our store closed, is we said we're gonna throw the best online birthday parties. There are thousands of kids at home in quarantine. They're all going to be celebrating birthdays, and as a kid, like, birthdays are so special, and there has to be a company that like reinforces that and productizes it. So by the end of April, we had celebrated 10,000 kids' birthdays, and we started to add gifting into that, and brand partnerships and so on. So birthdays was the first place we kind of like put a stake in the ground and said, okay, this is how we can be an experience first retailer while everyone's at home and not.
I mean, that seems pretty brave. I would imagine on March 16th, everybody was freaking out about future sales, and you seem to have kind of taken a sort of left turn and invested in the experience rather than the trying to maintain your revenues. Right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, our revenues went to zero overnight. I mean, we knew that they were going to go to zero, and it was all about engaging the community. Like, that was the first priority. Was like, there were people that came to camp, 2-3 times a week. It was part of their family ritual. Sunday after soccer practice, Wednesday after school. And we wanted to keep that level of loyalty, that level of engagement. We felt like if we could do that, the sales and all that revenue stuff will come. The biggest service we provided to our customers was, again, a reliable thing to do with your family, and so that was the top priority.
That's great. Can you tell me a little bit about the partnership with Walmart? They've got a lot of press, especially within the retail trade circles.
Yeah. So by early April, it was clear that the summertime was going to look very different last year. And we wanted to bring our amazing in-store curriculum online. In our stores for context, we have craft classes, activities, sports and fitness stuff like baby yoga, date night drop off, all sorts of things that we used to do in our four-walled environment. We wanted to bring that online as a digital summer camp. But in order to do that, we felt like we needed a partner, just because of the budgets and the amount of work you would need to put into it to do it right. And we were lucky to partner with Echo, which is an interactive video platform, and Walmart, to create what's now called Camp by Walmart, which was an interactive summer camp, which has now become a year-round program with hundreds of activities with celebrity integrations like LeBron James and Neil Patrick Harris and Jennifer Garner and Drew Barrymore and Idina Menzel. And we created all of these amazing interactive videos that allowed families to kind of co-watch. It's meant for the kid and the parent to watch together. And then we integrated shopping and commerce throughout the course of the program. So you might be doing a craft where you learn how to build a rocket ship, and right there in the video, you could buy all of the supplies you need directly from Walmart in order to go and do that. So it's a really fun program. It's still continuing. We launched 100 episodes in the summer of 2020. We launched another 100 episodes in holiday of 2020, and we're continuing to launch stuff all the way up until this summer, and we'll see where it takes us.
That's incredible. You also worked recently on this White Elephant campaign, which is super interesting as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
This is my favorite thing we did in 2020. To me, it's a glimpse on how you can be really experiential with e-commerce, which those two things are very not something that usually happens together. E-commerce, almost every interpretation of it is seek and destroy. You know what you want, you go and search it, you click it, you buy it, you're done. What we've done with the White Elephant gift exchange is we proved that e-commerce can actually be experiential. And the way it worked is people started a party, just like you would start a party in an office. And they bought the first gift. They sent a private link out to all of their friends or colleagues or whoever was going to be in the party with them, who they bought gifts. All the gifts were blind. And then at the time they wanted, whenever they felt like it, they could start the party and all be on a live stream virtual gift exchange. And we handled all the shipping, all of the logistics, et cetera. So we made gifting really easy in the holiday season, and we made it a shared commerce, transactional experience, which honestly, again, it was the most kind of inspirational thing we did in 2020. And I feel like it's going to set a big part of our 2021 roadmap. Experiential retail is very clear what you do in four walls in the physical world. And I think we're gonna hopefully pioneer what it means in the virtual world. And
let's explore that just a little bit more. So it seems to be playing at seems to be working at the intersection of social engagement and play. What is that? Why does that kind of turn consumers and shoppers on?
Yeah, for us, it's about shared experiences, and almost always it's about the purchase process, taking the front seat outside of to the item, if that makes sense. So the thing that you get is important. It has to be a good product. We curate our products carefully, but what people leave a camp experience with, whether it be brick and mortar or virtual, is a memory of that experience that they shared with their friends that they went with, their family that they brought through. And that's why we do what we do, is we think retailers most of the time don't think of that. They think of the item, they think about the price, they think about the customer service. We want people to have a memory of the actual moment they got it. Growing up as a kid, I'll go to FAO Schwartz. I don't even remember one thing I got at FAO Schwartz, right? But I remember going every single time. I don't remember what product I walked out with. I remember the experience of being in this amazing, elaborative environment and seeing all these amazing things.
So in terms of this moments of sharing, how's that going to influence your business going forward, do you think? What's on the roadmap? Anything to look out for?
I think we're gonna try and scale what we did with the virtual White Elephant exchange. Obviously, White Elephant is very seasonal and Christmas oriented, but I think there's a ton of opportunities to build around shared transactional experiences and figure out how to take dynamics that you would normally have in the physical world, and use the infrastructure we have as a retailer with physical locations and distribution centers and technology to make these experiences shared and memorable. I don't want to give too much away, so that's where I kind of stalled out. But like you can imagine birthdays, for example, like buying birthday gifts for friends and celebrating birthdays together. Like that should be something that we build the best platform for. And what that means and what it looks like, I think we'll have to wait and see. But there are so many moments that are, they usually require a transaction, whether it's a gift or a ticket or whatever. And we want to make sure that those transactions are built in an experiential way, and I think we can do that.
That's great. I can't wait to see how this manifests. If there are folks that are gonna make it this amazing experience, is you and the camp team. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that is. I'll sign up and look forward to the alert.
I am too, to be honest. Like it's the first of the year. It's a complete abstract thought, but the experiences of 2020 really inspired us to keep pushing down this road of answering the question, what should we do today, and helping our customers do the same.
We can't run Retail Innovation Week without the support of partners who we truly appreciate. We wouldn't be here today. Let's have a look at some of the partners that are supporting us today.
That's right, Piers. We couldn't have pulled this event off without the support of our sponsors. Our partners include Avalara, the leader in automated tax compliance. We've done a lot of work with Avalara over the past 12 months, and it continues with the launch of a new report that we are unveiling on Day 4 of Retail Innovation Week. The report helps retailers and brands develop omnichannel marketplace strategies. If you attend Day 4, you'll be able to download your free copy. We'd also like to thank Gladly for their support. Gladly is the only people-centered customer service platform with all the channel built in. You can hear from Gladly's Mike McGarren on the PSFK stage of Retail Innovation Week today, and you can spend time with his team in the more intimate breakout sessions. We also want to give a shout out to our breakout sponsors. Chase Design is a world-class design firm established more than 50 years ago with over 100 employees. They work with consumer product goods companies and retailers worldwide on projects that span all shopper touchpoints, in the home, on the go, in store, and online. Our sponsor at Real Obsess and Ridding Futures will be partnering during their special breakout session to tackle how to make the in-store experience available anywhere with AR and VR. Between them, they bring to the table tech insights, augmented retail, and virtual shopping. And last but not least, we are supported by Life Area, a full-service global customer experience and commerce agency. Their expertise lies in connecting brands and people through creative commerce experiences that transform and enliven the customer journey from start to finish. You can join them for a deep dive into how gaming and play are reshaping commerce. Thanks again to all of our sponsors for their support. Back over to you, Piers.
So as you can see, Retail Innovation Week is supported by some amazing partners. And I recommend that you check them out, engage them, find out how they drive the future of retail too. Let's try to find out what's happening in the minds of the consumers. Let's gather some insights. One of the experts that I've been speaking to recently is Megan Higgins. Megan is the Vice President and General Manager of e-commerce and marketplaces at Avalara, the tax compliance platform. And she's been tracking what's been happening in the e-commerce space. Hey Megan, nice to have you on Retail Innovation Week.
Hi Piers, thanks so much. It's wonderful to be here.
It's great to have you. So, things have been changing. Let's talk about some of the big shifts that you've been seeing in terms of a consumer perspective.
Yeah, well, quite a bit of change. I think this, 2020 was our pivotal year here for e-commerce, which all of us in this space are so grateful. I would say, in an odd way, to be able to have experienced the adoption, the real adoption of digital e-commerce from consumers. It it was always happening at a pace of, multiple percentage points every year. But really, this was the inflection year where consumers' habits have, inevitably changed and likely will be a permanent change now. So the adoption of digital delivery, of the digital way with which we want to, either receive goods, whether it's grocery or restaurant or online shopping, all of that now is a part of our life. And we've all gotten comfortable with it to this point where it's going to continue to be more and more dominant in the way that we shop and the way that we do commerce.
Do you think every aspect of this shift is going to remain? What sort of permanent behavior changes are we going to expect? And is anything going to go back to normal?
Sure. I mean, it's always hard to tell to some degree as to what's going to revert back. But, as humans, we are conditioned, right? And now it's been long enough that we have been in this pandemic environment where we were forced to be able to adopt digital commerce. And if it was a few weeks, perhaps we would have reverted back to old habits. But it's been, we're crossing into a threshold of almost a year. And so at this point, consumers have gotten comfortable with that. They've adopted the digital technology. The experience is getting better. The shift of how the retailers are servicing us as consumers is evolving, and it will continue to evolve. And so there is just a permanent shift now that will not go back. It will, time will certainly tell as to, a certain segment of the population or certain categories might, revert back to old habits. But at this point, why? If it's servicing us well and we're getting what we need in the time frame that we wanted, the experience that we wanted, why would you want to go back?
Is there anything that happened over the holiday season that surprised you?
It's interesting. So there was obviously a lot of expectation setting for the holiday season. Almost a tale of two stories, I would say. So two concerns, really. The first was from a technology standpoint, can retailers and platforms handle that much of a transaction load and demand? And will they be able to hold up and be responsive and have uptime, et cetera? And so I think from a technology standpoint, the holiday season was amazing. So, there are tremendous amount of statistics of unprecedented record volumes that have been transacted through checkouts and retailers and platforms. And so that was a real win for the industry. On the other side was a lot of, concern and rightfully so around the delivery aspect. So can we take the order from the technology standpoint? That was issue number one. Check, that worked out well. The second is, can they actually deliver it to the consumer and get it there in time? And so that was being coined in the industry as Shipageddon. And so it really, there were some bright spots and there was definitely some trouble spots. And for the bright spots, Amazon continues to just come out on top. They really, almost serendipitously have invested in their own logistics network such that it was seamless, really. If you're an Amazon customer, and I buy quite a bit on Amazon personally, there was very little disruption or delay in terms of receiving goods that you would buy online. And you could buy all the way through until, close to the holiday season.
Yes.
Whereby, if you were dependent on other private carriers or even postal networks, it was a little bit of a different story.
In terms of, what's interesting about Amazon is it serves retailers big and small. Talking about smaller retailers, we've seen this kind of shift in e-commerce and digital tools. Have smaller retailers been able to take advantage of this?
Yeah, obviously with Amazon, FBA was a big component to that. So being able to have the product stocked and then just inject right into their supply chain network. So that was an advantage. And if depending upon your presence with Amazon and as a small retailer, if that applied to you, that would have been an advantage. As a small retailer, if you were dependent on the postal service, as an example, that was a real challenge because they ended up consuming a lot of the overload that the private carriers essentially capped and said, if you're a big retailer, I'm capping your quantity of shipments. And so everything else got injected into the postal network, which many small retailers rely on. And that postal network ultimately, really got overwhelmed. And so I think many small retailers probably felt the effects of those delays. Now, if you ordered early enough in the season, then you were okay. But certainly that did present a bit of a challenge from the consumer experience, being able to meet the expectations and the promise to get those shipments there in time.
We talked about delivery and delivering on time or setting delivery expectations. Are there any other pillars to best-in-class digital commerce experience that retailers, big and small, should strive to achieve?
Yeah, it hasn't shifted in terms of how to really win in e-commerce. The first is, as a small retailer, you have to embrace technology. It is so important that you are equipping your business with the tools and the technology so that you can thrive in this environment. And there are amazing technology and solutions out there that you can take advantage of. So that's the good news. So embrace technology, make sure that you are leveraging all those different features and functions either within your platform or within different solution options that are resident and plugged into those platforms. But thematically, it comes down to the same core attributes, which is convenience, value, and experience. And it's that simple. And so if you almost work backwards to say, what's the experience I want to deliver, and make sure that you are prepared to deliver that. And convenience are things like different options of picking up in store, different ways to, deferred payments and so forth. I mean, that's a recurring theme now that we, as consumers are seeking. And so retailers have to be responding to that, small retailers and large retailers. Value, of course, pricing it right, making sure that you're looking at the total cost to the consumer from taxes and shipping and merchandise value, and you're competitive the way that you price things. And, of course, experience. Experience trumps everything. Experience builds loyalty. Experience is ultimately going to, reduce your touch points and consumers looking to engage with you to say, where are things, and something went wrong. I had a fractured experience. I have to do a return now, which is always painful. So those are really the three core pillars, and stay focused on that.
It's interesting you talk about experience because of the checkout experience, which is often overlooked, but possibly one of the most important aspects of the purchase path and the shopper journey. From a consumer-facing perspective, what are the things that a business needs to keep in mind when it comes to that moment of purchase?
Checkout is the crown jewel. All the work that you do to market to the consumer, to find the consumer, to put your products and merchandise them appropriately and price them strategically, all that work it really hangs in the balance of checkout. So for you to make sure that your checkout experience is seamless, that you have multiple payment options, ideally that you've got secure tokenization so you can consume payment options that might be stored within a browser environment, and make sure that that's frictionless. So if you think about, if you're sitting on your mobile device, you do not want to be keying in your address every time. It's got to be able to pull in those, any resident information, any payment information, and as few steps as possible, and calculate the exact amount. So make sure tax is right. Make sure your shipping is correct. If you're doing cross-border shipments, you're going to need that duty and tax calculation. All of that landed cost and fully transparent information is really important. And, I'll tell you, just recently I was trying to buy from an Australia retailer who was having a sale for Boxing Day. And it was a real struggle. And it was so painful because I wanted to buy this large order from them. And it just reminded me that, as a retailer, you have to go out and be a consumer at times on your own site and put yourself in that consumer position and think about the steps that you're asking the consumer to jump through. And the checkout wasn't working. I tried to use a promo code. It wouldn't accept the promo code. And I just thought, man, what a lost opportunity. I wanted to call them and say, you have to fix your checkout site because You found me, I found you, I found the product, I love the product, I want to buy from you, but I can't.
I mean, that's super interesting to talk about some of the challenges and opportunities at the checkout experience. Lastly, what does, if we have retailers watching this, we have brand manufacturers with DTC capabilities, and we have their ecosystem partners thinking about some of the challenges and how to overcome some of the challenges that you've even spoken about. What's necessary from a back-end operational point of view?
Really, much of what we just talked about, Piers, which is making sure you've got multiple payment options, you're mobile optimized. So recognizing that people nowadays are shopping on their mobile device almost exclusively to some degree versus a desktop. And so you have to be mobile friendly and accepting those different, convenience options. So, folks are either looking for it to be, bought online and picked up in store or shipped to you immediately. Target had an amazing holiday experience. You could buy on Target and you could have it delivered within hours, which was incredible. And so all of that back end optionality has to be coded, and that logic has to be available at the checkout. And and of course, from a tax perspective, since that's the world at Avalara that we live in, there's complexity as you think about moving product closer to the consumer and you think about all these different convenience options. It does have tax implications. And so it's just yet another element that as a small business retailer that you have to consider. And so that's why technology is important to embrace.
Yeah, getting it right so you can cover all those bases from transaction to tax. Yeah. Megan Higgins, Vice President and General Manager of E-commerce and Marketplaces at Avalara. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for being with us today.
Likewise, Piers. I did as well. Take care.
So, hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Need to remind you about this chat box that's to my left. Feel free to engage one another. Feel free to respond to some of the different themes and comments that the PSFK and Retail Innovation Week teams have been adding. And also comms teams, assistants, and even the speakers themselves have been adding content, are waiting for your questions. So don't be afraid, just jump in now and ask a question. So when it comes to e-commerce and it comes to new ideas in e-commerce, we wanted to turn to a true pioneer in this space, Julie Bornstein. Julie helped set up Stitch Fix as part of it was COO there, and helped scale the company to $1 billion company within 6 years. And after that, she went on to set up and found the Yes, a retail e-commerce platform that focuses in fashion. And I wanted to talk to her today to understand some of the new ideas that she sees happening within retail and how the consumers are adapting. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Piers. How are you?
It's great to have you here today. Welcome to Retail Innovation Week.
Thank you.
When we first spoke about your platform, about the Yes, it was a brand new idea. Possibly we can start with a little context setting about what is the Yes today, or what's the value you're offering shoppers.
The Yes is a technology platform for consumers to shop more effectively and in a more fun way. So our whole mantra is about more personal, more fun, and smarter. And the concept is we have the broadest breadth of brands from high to low. So we carry everything from Balenciaga and Bottega Veneta to Everlane and Zara. And the consumer today shops high-low and likes to be able to see everything at once. But obviously, with such a huge assortment, we have the second largest assortment online after Farfetch, and hopefully we'll catch up soon. The idea of overwhelm, which occurs on the web, is very prevalent. And so our whole angle is how do we make shopping much more efficient and effective for the consumer and thus more fun. So we use AI and personalization to understand the consumer from the very beginning. We ask a Q&A as a customer logs on. And these are key questions that help us understand fashion preferences and including price and size and all of the nuances that go into understanding style. And then we have an experience where you have a home feed in your app that is always suggesting new things for you. And you can shop by search or by category or by brand or by need state. And all of those things produce results that are ranked to each user. And so every store, in essence, is relevant and personalized in a one-to-one way with each user.
It's super fascinating, and especially when you launch a super progressive idea. Over the last 8-10 months, we've seen a lot of accelerated change in terms of what other retailers do, and change in terms of the expectations of consumers. How have you seen your audience change in terms of how they're behaving, what they want from you?
Well, we launched in May of 2020. So we were kind of a new company during the pandemic. And so it was interesting because on one hand, what we knew to be true in the fashion space is people are not buying a lot of fashion right now. They're not going out. There's no work to go to, no events to go to. So it's a very strange time for the industry. And on the flip side, people have time and are willing to try new modes of shopping. And so, with the rise of Instacart and Zoom and all of the things that have become our normal everyday life that were, not really quite in the water yet before the pandemic, the sort of openness to trying a new app or a new way to do something, especially shopping, which is not being done in store right now, the timing was good. And so what we saw was that there was a lot of curiosity and interest in understanding what we were all about and what we were doing. And what we found is that as users shop the app, they can yes and no products they like and don't like, which both store the things they like for future and also helps train the algorithm to understand them even better. And we've seen there an enormous amount of yes and no's and a very high engagement level. Even if people aren't ready to buy, they're kind of keeping track of things that they like, both to improve the algorithm and make the experience better for them when they come and shop again, but also so that when they're ready to buy again, they've kind of saved the things that are intriguing to them. So those behaviors have definitely been things that have helped us as a new company during this period.
In terms of personalization, you talked about a number of different aspects which personalize the experience. Is there anything else that you apply or leverage to kind of create a more customized experience for the customer?
Yeah, I mean, we think about sort of all the technology enablement that exists today, whether it be AI, which is the core of our product, or the ability to integrate with other brands. Our platform is one that integrates directly with the e-commerce sites of each of our brands themselves, whether it be kind of social networking and the ability to see what your friends are doing, or the ability to understand what influencers and people who may have ideas that interest you and help you buy. All of these things are technologies that are enabling better shopping, in essence. The ability to find what you want, get the inspiration you're looking for, get all the information you need in one fell swoop in an easy way. And so our whole approach is, what are the things that are going to be most effective in helping me sort of find what I like, get inspiration, or make a buying decision? And how do we pull those things into a unified experience for a shopper? So I would say two of the elements that we are really thinking about and starting to test are the ability to shop alongside a friend. So if you and I are linked in the app, although you wouldn't be right now because we don't have men's, then you could see what I've been adding to my list. I can see what you've been adding to your list. And in short order, as we're building right now, we'll be able to comment on each other's things that we like and sort of share opinions and share ideas. So we think that that is, especially in a moment when we can't shop with our friends like we used to, something that's super relevant. And we know an enormous sort of experience that people have when they're shopping in real life.
So for your brand partners, the companies that you're selling, what are the advantages for them selling through your platform?
I would say the number one reason that they should partner with us is because they want to be a part of sort of where technology is going as it relates to shopping, both because they're going to get volume as our business grows and additional customers, and also because they're going to learn both about different ideas in sort of e-commerce and technology and how they're being applied to different shopping ways, and also the data that we're collecting on the consumer for them and sharing with them. So our goal is to be a really sort of unique kind of partner to the brands. We're requiring very little work. Most of their partners, they need a person on their team to do all the integration with and to keep track of all the catalog and the buying of the product. But in our case, we've really taken that on ourselves. We've made the partnership super streamlined and easy for the brand, so they really don't have to do much. All they need is an e-commerce site themselves, and then we can work with them. And we're really excited to help the brands find new sources of customers, because we all know customer acquisition costs are growing, and it's hard as a single brand to continue to be able to scale those costs.
That theme of partnership is a really strong one. We have a number of executives who work at retailers, executives that support retailers who are thinking about their strategies. Do you have any recommendations, tips or tricks that you could provide based on your experience and your recent experience? What should retailers be thinking about today?
I would say that there are a couple of things. I think it's really important to understand your customer base and make sure that you are always sort of giving advantage to your current customers. I think so many brands are focused on giving their best offers to new customers. And in the end, all businesses are really stronger when they keep their core customers most valued and most sort of prized in terms of how that interaction exists. And I think, especially in a time where in some cases customers may not be shopping right now, but when the pandemic comes to an end and we have the vaccine and these customers are ready to go and they have all this reserve in their pocketbook, there's going to be sort of a battle for who gets the customer. And I think that you want to make sure that you've maintained those relationships with your best customers so that when they're ready to buy again, you're top of mind. So I think that'd be my number one piece of advice.
That's great. Get ready for the return. Yeah. Julie Bornstein, founder, CEO of the Yes. I really appreciate your time. Always great to get your insight and understand where the future is. Thank you.
Great to see you. Bye, Piers.
So when it comes to e-commerce, we see companies, especially new era companies, DTC companies, employing a number of different models, whether it's subscription, whether it's a la carte purchasing, and they're exploring new ways for customers to buy from them. They're also looking for opportunities to engage their customers, opportunities to build kind of influencer relationships, and even create a community of brand ambassadors. I'm very intrigued by what's happening in this space, what's been happening over the last 12 months, and how that's going to continue. And so I wanted to speak to Ranjan Roy, who's VP of Strategy at Adore Me. Adore Me is a women's wear brand, and I wanted to understand how they're employing such tactics as they develop their e-commerce. Ranjan, it's great to have you.
Great to be here, Piers.
That's great. Possibly, can you give a little context about Adore Me?
Of course. So Adore Me was founded in 2011, and we were one of the first startups to sell bras online direct to consumer. Over the years, we've evolved, scaled. Now we encompass a number of different categories, have an entire family of satellite brands, and have also introduced a number of different ways to serve the customer, a number of different business models.
That's great. I'd love to explore that a little bit further. As I understand, you've explored. You can purchase from your brand in different ways, and I'd imagine some companies, some retailers are just kind of offering one type of option. What are the tactics that you're employing, and kind of what are the insights that led you to choose them?
Yep. So Adore Me, we have three different ways a customer can shop. The first is the standard. You go on the site, buy an item at that moment, call it pay as you go, a la carte, whatever you want to call it. But when we actually launched, we also had a subscription option. It was called the VIP membership. You pay a monthly fee that is used as a credit to buy items online, and you get access to a number of discounts, promotions, things like that. So what we learned over the years with the VIP program was the power of repeat customers, of loyalty, of getting to know a customer, because especially in a category like bras and lingerie, where fit is so personal, where fit is so specific, a first-time customer is very hard to serve. So it really increases the onus of getting customers who stick with you for a long time. And one of the evolutions of this was in 2017, we launched the Elite Box, which is our try at home service. And this service, we genuinely think is going to be a huge part of our business. We think this idea of predictive commerce will actually be kind of one of the defining features of online retail in the years to come. And it's a simple concept. You are sent a box, somewhere between 4 and 8 items. You keep what you want, return the rest, and every month we kind of go along like that. So the concept is simple. Stitch Fix is a pioneer of the model, but the underlying logistics, the procurement, the marketing, all of that is incredibly complex. So it's definitely been a learning experience.
Is that something that's developed over the last 10 months, 9-10 months, or has it been accelerated and have new tools kind of been developed that allows you to kind of run that strategy?
Yep. So there's a couple of different parts to it, but we actually launched Elite as an experiment in 2017. And the first major puzzle piece for Elite was we launched our own logistics center, our warehouse. We call it Adore Me Services. It's based over the river in Secaucus, New Jersey. And it's a huge part because getting the logistics right to do this is an incredible challenge, because in normal e-commerce, the return of products is a negative. And we're pretty proud. We have one of the lowest return rates in our category, but still, with Try at Home, returns become part of the natural product life cycle. And so building your warehouse, building your logistical operations to kind of accept returns, process them, that was a huge part of the puzzle. And so we were very careful with how we approached the scaling of Elite. And from 2017 to 2019, slowly growing, tweaking the algorithm, building the warehouse in the right way. And of course, as one might imagine, the pandemic accelerated the idea of try at home by years, according to our growth plans. I mean, you see all those figures. What is it, like 10 years and 3 months, or from McKinsey? We can definitely say for our try at home service, the demand was there. That was similar.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I know that in some ways we could say your business is unique, but I see so many parallels. Whether it's about, you talked earlier about the first customer, the first time you have a customer, it's very difficult to service that customer because of physicalities of the customer, shall we say. I mean, but that applies through nearly every other business in some ways. And then it's also interesting to think about the logistics and how logistics creates a competitive advantage by getting this right. I'd love to also talk to you about brand advocacy, particularly with a crowded online space where customer acquisition costs can be so high. Can you talk to us about Adore Me and how Adore Me thinks about the role of community, in particular, how you're going about creating or cultivating brand ambassadors?
Adore Me, we kind of started stepping our toes into the influencer marketing space, as with most other brands, from 2017, 2018, with a pretty traditional tact, putting a lot of money into influencers with big followings. And as a pretty metrics-driven company, it was hard to measure our return, to really understand what we were getting. Meanwhile, we had a huge number of customers with small Instagram followings asking us how they could kind of become partners of the brand, how they can do work with us. A lot of them were aspiring influencers. So we were really trying to understand how to better empower them to work with us. And for us, we've never really been a celebrity-driven brand, and especially in our category. I mean, we're not going to compete on celebrity with Rihanna and Savage Fenty. So we have to take a different approach. So what we did, and we're pretty proud of, is we built a self-serve platform called Creators. And again, this was just an idea of one of our product managers. And the idea is a creator can sign up for the platform. There's a very quick vetting process. Basically, we check, you're a human. There's nothing too scandalous about your profile. And then you can join campaigns. In the campaigns, we give you very minimal instruction, and then we encourage people to be creative. And the cool part is, one campaign that typically gets somewhere between 300 and 500 creators, the breadth of content being created is so diverse. The people are so diverse. And all that happens in the end is every creator is given merchandise credit. Because again, this is a very entry-level path into working together. So it's a very, very automated self-serve way, yet they're happy, they're working with the brand they love. We're happy, there's incredible amounts of content being created in incredibly creative ways. And it's, again, a kind of graduation path. Some of the creators we end up working with on a more formal basis, but we love that it allows a much, much wider variety of people, of influencers to actually be able to partner with the brand.
It seems to me that Adorm is really willing to embrace experimentation. And I think that's a bit of a kind of, in industry or in the retail sector, there's a lot of discussion about being willing to embrace innovation, take risks, fail, but I'm unsure that really happens. Can you tell me a little bit about what drives this experimentation, how you're set up to do this, and talk to me also about the launch of the sub-brands and how that kind of fits within this whole model of test and learn.
Yep. So innovation, disruption, two words that have certainly been overused a bit in the last decade, I'll say. And while everyone debates over what is actually a tech company, we do like to think of ourselves as a technology company. And we have nearly 40% of our staff is in the engineering, product, tech, UX side. And from that, there's a strong drive to solve problems through new products, new technologies, building, experimenting on things that otherwise might not have been tried. And even digging a little bit deeper within the engineering team, taking an agile development approach has been there since day one. And so that ends up kind of permeating its way through the culture of the entire organization, where that test, fail, learn, repeat, grow. That mantra, that mindset really kind of takes hold across the entire organization. So one part of that we've launched more aggressively in the last few years are our satellite brands. And again, going back to, we launched our new logistics center that kind of put the infrastructure in place. So then we also built a number of systems for Adorm, the core business, on the IT side, around procurement, around order fulfillment. But then we decided, why not try to build a second brand around it? The first brand, Bella Boom Boom, is a maternity brand that was done through acquisition. But that was the first to see, can we really bring in an external brand and fit it into our system? That worked out pretty well. So then the next idea, can we launch a new brand internally? we launched, now we actually, we now have a family of 9 brands. We launched 7 in the past year. There's Joyja, which is period panties, Coolibrium, which is thermoregulated cooling fabrics. It was actually invented for menopausal women and treating hot flashes, but now it caters to women of all ages. There's Reapparel, which is a sustainability brand where it's 100% recycled material. And we really look at this as kind of a laboratory that you can take a very low risk, and especially we like to try to focus on material innovations around new types of sustainability products and fabrics. You can launch a new brand at a relatively low risk. We often work with our supply chain partners, see how it performs, start kind of pulling out pieces, the marketing know-how from our acquisition team, obviously the logistics know-how from the Dormy services. And as things work, you start scaling it up. And so that really started growing in the past year and a half and is a big part of the strategy for the next few years.
It's fascinating. It sounds very Silicon Valley in a way where you build a product and then you take a step back and look at the platform that you built to deliver that product and then reapply it. So it was somewhere else,
We like to think of that as very New York.
It happens in a few choice spots for sure. I think we're going to be lucky enough to have you on as a breakout speaker later at 1 p.m. Eastern. Could you tell us what you're going to talk about during your breakout session?
Yep, we'll definitely be focusing on the creators program and more specifically how to take unconventional approaches to influencer marketing and how to develop new channels of marketing in completely original ways. So we'd love to have you join us.
Well, that's great. So as I reminded everybody, at 1 p.m. today, we have these breakout sessions. And so make sure you join and make sure you join Ranjan's session. Ranjan Roy, VP of Strategy at Adorme. I really appreciate your time. I've learned a lot today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Hey everybody, just coming back in for a second. I want to tell you about this networking feature, which is one of the buttons here on my right hand side. As you can see, the networking sessions have begun. What happens in networking is a little bit like speed dating. You can go into the session and it matches you with some clever AI technology and it connects you to somebody else in the audience. And for up to 5 minutes, you can have a chat. If you like each other, you find each other interesting by the end of it, you can exchange details or you can move on to the next person. Don't be scared. It's all a lot of fun and maybe you'll meet somebody who you'll enjoy the conversation and be a like mind and you can talk about some of the elements of the session. Thanks. Try it now. So within e-commerce, we see themes such as personalization and customization developing, especially within a new crop of companies, DTC companies. I'm excited today to have Philip Raub join us. He's been on our stage previously when he was working at Beta, the pioneering retailer in the electronic space. And now he's running Model Number, a company that's exploring those themes of personalization and customization in the home and home design space. Hey, Philip, great to have you.
Pierce, thanks. Excited to be here and the opportunity to kind of share kind of what I'm doing these days.
That's great. So I don't think many people are going to be familiar with your company, with Model Number. I wonder whether you can just give us a quick overview.
Model Number is, ironically, we've been around for a couple of years, but not really in the public eye. So for about the first 2 years, the company was really working behind the scenes on figuring out how we can bring products to market in the furniture and the home furnishing space much faster, I think, than what you kind of see today. And so really the goal of the company is twofold. It's one, to be able to provide furniture and home furnishings on demand To your point around both customized and personalized means that the consumers can order, kind of made to order. And then the second piece of it is that there's a really large sustainability component. So we realize that there's a lot of waste that's happening within the furniture space. So all of our products are manufactured from either food waste or recycled and reclaimed products.
Well, I look forward to diving into all of those themes. I mean, within the kind of home decor, home design space, my perception is that retail sector has been very traditional. You'd have to walk into a space and find a piece of furniture, whether at the low end or the high end, and it hasn't and it's been resistant to change. What's happening in the consumers' minds in terms of how they want to buy, when they want to buy, what they want to buy?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, generally speaking, if you look at the furniture, the home furnishing space, consumers, especially even large ticket items, right? Consumers were very accustomed to having to go in, kind of kick the tires, so to speak, see the product, sit on a product, see it. I would say that a lot of that still probably rings true, but obviously the events over the last, let's call it year, have really changed the way that people are purchasing products, especially home products. People are buying things, sight unseen. So I think there's a lot of requirements that websites are having to kind of upgrade, using a lot of more kind of digital imagery and CGI type of formats to communicate to the consumer what a product may look like in someone's home. So customers are kind of almost forced to change the way that they were shopping, especially for larger items. And so I think that bodes well for brands that have more of a digital footprint. It's not to say that physical retail is going to go away. I do think that people still probably they're probably going to see a lot of returns, probably here in Q1 in certain things, but I do think it has made it so that consumers at least feel like that they can make that initial purchase. And then the thing what we're doing at Model Number that I think is uniquely different is that we can allow people to go in and customize things. So you can choose. Let's say that you have just moved from your apartment in New York, like a lot of people maybe have, and moved into a larger space. And you need that table that maybe isn't going to be the cookie cutter, 72 inches long. You need something that's going to fit into a space that maybe is 78 inches long. So rather than maybe the next option up under traditional furniture would have been something a little bit maybe 84 inches, you can go in and develop and say, you know what, I want something specifically this length and this width. Traditionally, that would take maybe 6 months for you to get. We can turn around something like that in 4 to 5 weeks.
That's amazing. How does that happen? How do you create product in 4 to 5 weeks?
Couple ways. One, we're using two different methods of automated production. So in traditional manufacturing, typically you have to create molds. You have to maybe wait till an order is placed, and because most companies just aren't set up necessarily to be doing things on demand. So for us, it's we have both do CNC fabrication, which is something that's been around for quite a while now. And then the other type of thing that we're doing is 3D printing. And so what happens is the minute that an order comes in, it goes straight from the order queue right onto the kind of the production line versus having to kind of sit and wait in a queue or wait till something happens and then shipped from Asia. Gets on a boat, goes into a dock, goes to a distribution center, and eventually gets to a consumer's home. All of our stuff is done here domestically, and can be done, like I said, the minute the order comes in, it goes right into the queue for production.
Yeah, last night as I was prepping for this interview, I was spending some time on your website. I was enjoying it so much that I was missing having an office, because I'd love to kind of fill my office with some of the kind of wild and super interesting designs that you have. One of the things that I noticed and I enjoyed was the customization and the kind of design feature. I guess over the last few years, I've always seen kind of 3D rendering tools, but there's something about technology that's advanced which allows this to be very seamless. Can you speak to that at all in terms of the digital experience?
Yeah, so we realize that there's two types of consumers. There's a consumer that wants something that's very easy, that they can kind of almost just like a preset option where you go in, You get kind of the base model. Maybe you pick kind of the wood, and you maybe change a dimension here and there, and to meet a specific space, and you kind of call it a day, and you add to cart. But then we also found that there's a lot of other consumers that are wanting a little bit more, and you're starting to see this. You can design your own sneakers. You can go into websites and there's made to measure clothing that's happening online. So a lot of different categories are starting to see this, so it's making a lot more commonplace. So consumers are coming in and they can go into our design studio and they can start to play with things like shape, different size, different kind of color variations. So it becomes really fun for the consumer to come in and to explore. And we're finding that more and more people are starting to kind of come in to customize pieces in maybe ways that they hadn't in the past. We're finding it, typically, people are starting more on the low end with smaller price items, just to kind of get a feel for it. And then once they've been able to engage with the brand, then you start to kind of see them, coming into to touch and to try things. I think on a grander scale.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, kind of that point about touch or buying home decor seems to be such a sensorial experience in the past. How do you overcome that, or how do you kind of feed those desires or respond to those desires?
It's definitely challenging for sure. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I started at Model Number, or before I started, I think that was a concern that I had, because I took over the position as the CEO in early July, so right in kind of the throes of the pandemic, and things are happening. And so that was one of the big questions I had, was like, this product looks interesting, it looks really cool, I love the concept, but what's the stuff really, before I make this large commitment to say that I'm going to come on board, I felt like I needed to kind of see the product. And I think one of the things after I did get a chance to kind of get hands-on, I said that we needed to do as an organization, we started to upgrade our photography, our imagery, again, with digital imagery, getting people, creating different environments. And so those are the things that we're in the process, of early part of this year of upgrading, and have been working with, a couple of different companies to create the environment so people can really get a much closer kind of sense of what the product looks like. We'll also start to kind of be working closely with, kind of customer recommendations and reviews, which people, have worked, very well in the past. And so those are all things that I think we're going to continue to invest in. I don't think that physical retail is dead. I do think that, for us, we will start to explore what that looks like, probably in the latter part of, of 21, when people are a little bit more, I think there's a lot of pent up demand for people to get back out there and into physical retail. And I think, for us, we're going to find a unique way to do that. But I think those are all things that become challenging. But I think there's a lot of technology that's out there today that allows you to kind of overcome a lot of those issues.
Well, that's really exciting. It's always interesting and fascinating to talk to you, especially as you kind of pioneer together with the team at Model Number, the future of retail and the kind of future of business. So Philip Raup, CEO of Model Number, I really appreciate your time today.
Pierce, always a pleasure, and thanks for having me.
So we've been hearing today about these different e-commerce experiences and innovation that's taking place. One of the topics that I'm particularly interested in is how brand manufacturers engage with retail partners to drive sales, how they deal with third parties, how they create relationships, and how they ultimately engage consumers together. One of the pioneers in this space is Ram Narayan Iyer, who works on the consumer channel marketing organization at Microsoft, selling products such as Xbox. And I'd love to talk to him today about how he's working with third parties and how he's connecting with consumers to drive them along the purchase path. Hi Ram, great to have you here today.
Great to see you, Piers, and thank you for this opportunity to be part of the Retail Innovation Week. It's always exciting, to have a conversation with you.
Well, you've been on our stage before, and you always kind of bring a great flurry of new ideas. Talking about flurries, how was the holiday season for your business?
This year's holiday appears was a digital first in many ways for us. We saw our online mix across retailers go up by almost 3 times. It's taking a leap ahead in time by almost 10 years in terms of growth. So it's a huge leap forward from an e-commerce perspective, which we saw. What this meant was that, and the biggest takeaway is that we really had to adapt to this new buying from consumers, especially consumers who were buying online for the first time. And I call it consumer first. The first time you're buying something on a social post, the first time you're having a virtual consultation, the first time you're doing a click and collect transaction. So we did see a lot of consumer firsts that happened this holiday, and our retailers really had to adapt to these new behaviors. And in that sense, I think what's most important is that, when you look at digital experiences, while it's important to focus on the attributes which are most important for consumers, from the standpoint of fulfillment or checkout, it's even more important that we really provide a great experience from some of those brilliant basics that really matter to consumers. So make it easy for consumers to search or discover products, making sure that we're solving for choice and making it easy for consumers to buy, and really looking at providing accurate content on product detail pages, and also making sure that you have a quick page downloads. So some of the brilliant basics is really important. It was really heartening to see that most of our partners were able to really maintain and respond to the surge in terms of traffic, and we really didn't have any surprises in terms of sites coming down or any of those situations. So the retailers, I'm very grateful to our retail partners, especially from an infrastructure standpoint, to really have done a stellar job there to really make that brilliant basics experience really great for customers.
Within their e-commerce portal, or where they tend to do most of their e-commerce business, what new ideas or tools are being leveraged or being used today?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. I think the biggest innovation that we see here is really trying to infuse that in-store feel or that IRL feel into that URL experience that consumers have online. Many of our partners have really embraced this idea of video consultations, with customers, where they are giving one-on-one consultation at an appointment time which has been prefixed, where the retail pros are, through the video consultation, offering consumers the ability to understand their needs better and also help them find the best product which is best suited for their needs, and also complete the transaction in many cases. So we see that this as a key theme that's really emerging. Complementing this theme are two ancillary kind of ideas which are there, and one is of live streaming. We've seen live streaming front and center, especially in our Greater China region, with partners like Taobao Live. We've seen how they've enabled and made it easy for brick and mortar retailers to come on their platform and make it easy to not only provide education to consumers on new products and launches, but also make it entertaining for them as a part of that experience. And we see that trend now democratized and catching up across the other parts of the world as well. The other interesting thing is also, how do you get near physical experiences within your home? So with the help of web AR, how can you actually see the Xbox console almost like it in a store within the four walls of your home? So we also see web AR becoming more popular with all our partners.
That's really interesting, Ram. I think there's obviously some interesting themes going through there, and that intersect, whether it's talking to the store associates, live streaming. There's a bunch of real-time commerce happening within that e-selling experience. Can you tell me a little bit about beyond the portal or beyond the e-commerce store? How are you working with partners, and how are your partners thinking about social commerce and kind of other areas where they can connect with customers?
That's really a great question. Social is a very, very interesting space. We see social platforms transforming from advertisers and publishers to actually becoming, in many ways, like retailers do, especially with the creation of instant storefronts. You now have the ability to really buy straight from the post, and what's even more interesting is the ability to dynamically target and retarget customers, based on their purchase intent. And this is enabling you to, in many ways, hyper personalize, I would say, the experience for customers, and really make it very easy for them to really buy at the click of a button, because you're actually shortening the purchase path in many ways. So we clearly see social becoming a very, very important part of the play when it comes to both from an acquisition standpoint and from a fulfillment standpoint with our retail partners.
That's interesting to understand how social is changing that path in a way and speeding up the process. Well, Ram Narayanaya, Worldwide Director of Digital Strategy and E-commerce at Microsoft. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Piers. It was a pleasure being with you today.
So, personalization seems to be a theme that's kind of running through the day today. We've talked about customization with many of the different experts. Let's continue that theme and let's look at another DTC company that's shaking up how consumers buy within their product category. With me, I've got Coulter Lewis, who is the CEO and founder of Sunday. Hey Coulter, how you doing?
Hey Piers, how you doing?
It's great to have you. Now, Sunday is a new company in the lawn and garden space. I wonder whether you can just give me a little context and give us, the audience, a little context and help us understand.
Yeah, so Sunday is a direct-to-consumer lawn and garden company. What we do is we leverage data, property data, soil data, climate data, to basically do as a version of ag tech for your backyard, make it ridiculously easy to have a good-looking property without any toxic pesticides.
Okay. And so I'd love to dive into that. Before I do that, I'd love to just talk about or ask what's happening in the home sector. How are consumers changing? We heard about the sector being quite a boom over the last 12 months. Have things changed in terms of how they're behaving, what they want?
Absolutely. I mean, I think our entire category saw a big lift in the last 12 months. And I think, there's a really practical explanation for that, which is you're sitting at home looking out your back window and wanting it to look nicer. I don't think that's it. I think it's a lot deeper than that. I think people are looking for home, looking for that comfort, looking to build that sanctuary for themselves. And, your outdoor space is a huge part of that. It's a huge part of your it's not only about aesthetics, it's about the mental benefits as well. So there's been an enormous focus on that we've seen in our categories seen.
So, I mean, I think you have a really interesting business model, a really interesting solution. Was there no company like yourselves providing that type of service, that sort of bespoke custom service on a mass level before?
No, there wasn't. And I think, what's interesting, I think we're making something a lot easier and more accessible. But what it is not making, this isn't making it easier to wash your dishes. This is something that's fundamentally pleasing. And when you get outside and you care for your property, you care for a plant, and it gets healthier because of your actions, it feels really, really good. I mean, it's in your DNA that relationship really matters. And so we make it a lot easier to have that relationship with your property. And I think that really hadn't existed before, not in this way.
Yeah, when you talk about data, sometimes it might sound complicated what you do, and I'm sure there's some science behind some of the work. I mean, can you help us understand the customer experience journey and how you're interacting with your buyer through that journey and beyond, to help them feel reassured and feel that they're making the right decision?
I make this mistake a lot of digging into the science side of it because I geek out over it. I love it. But I think for our customers, that's not the core value prop. They're not buying into all of the modeling and things we're doing behind the scenes, all the data we're digging up. They're buying into someone who knows their property more than they ever want to know it, who's done all of the homework and all of the work, and then just gives them this empowering moment of this is exactly what you need right when you need it, and it's going to work. So it is about simplicity. It's about using this data and modeling and complex algorithms to deliver simplicity. So what it looks like more specifically is when you get to our website, the first thing we ask for is a home address, which is a big ask, right? It's pretty personal information. But what we're able to get with that is we gain some trust from the customers. We show them an image of their home, satellite imagery. We pull soil data, we pull their weather data. We pull some modeling on their grass, know the things that are happening in their area. And display to them like, look, we're really tapped into this. This is our expertise. We know what's going on right at your home. And then we ask them a few questions too. We want to learn from them to better serve them. And then that all goes into something we call the lawn engine, which is again, into the geekery and behind the scenes, but it's this algorithm that takes all this data to create the best fit plan for them. And then what the person ends up purchasing is a plan for the full season, and they're delivered to their door nutrients for their lawn with a hose-on applicator. So they're in liquid pouches. There's no measuring, no nothing else. It's exactly what you need when you need it. You use the entire thing and you're done.
Having gone through the process, it seems to me that sometimes it's there's only one solution offered by home improvement companies, and that involves like a big bag of chemicals. And it's a one-fit-all type of solution.
Yeah, it's interesting when like our chief science officer is a turf PhD at Cornell. This is as complicated as any form of agriculture. It's just not really given that room to be complicated and that specialization that it really needs. It is in the professional settings, but not in the home setting. And so we make it accessible for someone to have that level of precision without having to make lawn care their hobby for their whole life.
Yeah, well, exactly. So there's is there anything else we can touch on which helps? How are you providing that level of trust? You're saying the shopper wants to trust that you're going to create a sophisticated plan, but doesn't want to peel back. What else do you do to kind of gain the customer's trust?
It's such a balance. We spent so much time working out that level of information sharing that was the right amount. And I remember creating some prototypes of this and running it by people and then being like, this is too much. This is not for me. This is rocket science. And trying to figure out what that right level was. We were, showing our credibility while not making it intimidating. Really the most important emotion we want to create through the initial experience with Sunday is I can do this, which is a new emotion in this space, right? Most people are really intimidated and really worried about doing this on their own. And I was too. And so it really is, it's a delicate balance. It's also about how we phase it. So if you look at our funnel, we will show you some information, build some credibility, then ask you some questions. To basically use the cash in on that little bit of credibility we just got. We'll learn something from you and give some more information. And then what it results in the end is a solution, not a bunch of options. And that's really the promise we're making throughout that whole sequence is we're finding the right thing for you. We're not going to burden you with a bunch of choice. We're going to be the expert. And we're going to say, this is it. And so that's really the moment where we're delivering on the promise of those steps that customers going through.
We have executives at retailers, executives at brands, often the ones that creating the change within those organizations, leading the change. We have their partners who are helping them activate and execute. Do you, based on your experience and the great work that you're doing, do you have any advice about where to focus, what strategies to employ, especially over the next 12 months?
Over the next 12 months specifically, I think it's an ever-changing world. I think we're in a position now where the average consumer is working so hard and has so much going on in their life that burdening them with more choice is not a luxury anymore. It's actually friction. And I remember like the the online shoe designer from Nike. I can't remember what that was called, but you could design your own shoes, right? And I that was like this massive idea of here's what customization is going to look like. You can make your own shoes, but I don't want to make my own shoes. I want you to know me well enough to tell me the best looking shoes for me. And that's where you see Stitch Fix come in, right? They're the experts. They know things that I don't want to know, and they make my life easier. So I think that's really where I see the internet moving beyond just convenience and price competitiveness and moving into a role of being the verified expert and the person who's actually helping you do more. Not person, the service, the platform.
Super interesting. Always great and interesting to see how kind of the work that you're doing connects with some of the legacy players who that great retailer and brand manufacturer Nike as well, and see how you inspire each other. So Colton Lewis, CEO and founder of Sunday, really appreciate your time. Thanks for being part of Retail Innovation Week.
Thank you, Pierce. Appreciate it.
Hey everybody, it's Piers here. I just wanted to stop a second and remind you about the breakout sessions that start at 1 p.m. Eastern today. The breakout format is new this year for Retail Innovation Week, and during the session you'll be able to join different rooms that have concurrent conversations, and if you choose you can leave one and enter another. Speakers at today's breakout sessions will help our community understand how to take advantage of the new platforms powering a new era of e-commerce. Okay, so who's speaking at the breakouts on day one? With stores closing, the fear of shopping in crowds increasing, and consumers choosing to shop online, our retail experiences are bound to change. If you're prepared and informed, you can still create the excellent customer experience online. Join Andy Nosp for a conversation about the steps to create a memorable online experience for your customers. 2020 saw accelerated adoption of AR and VR experiences within retail as the need to deliver the rich sensory and store experience anywhere has become mission critical. With the help of our moderator Neil Redding, learn from Neha Singh and Cosmo Kramer about how obsessed but real are powering virtual showroom experiences for Levi's Farfetch and others. We are excited to have Antonio Squio, CIO at Headless Innovation, lead a conversation about how fashion brands can combine art culture and emotion in the augmented store of the future. He will be presenting ways in which Headless is weaving historical, aesthetic, and narrative experiences into digital brand expressions. We will also be joined by Julie's colleague Lisa Green, SVP of Brand Partnerships and Operations at the Yes. She will be running a deep dive into how her AI-powered commerce platform is delivering customized and personalized shopper experiences on behalf of brands ranging from Prada to Levi's, from Zara to Everlane. Brands are piling into buy now, pay later solutions, driving triple-digit revenue growth and enhancing loyalty at once. Join QuadPay co-founder Brad Lindenberg for an insider POV on the payments revolution unfolding right before our eyes. As you saw in the talk earlier, Adore Me has taken a fresh approach to engaging micro-influencers. Ranjan Roy, Vice President of Strategy at the DTC lingerie brand, will pull back the curtain on how his brand took matters into their own hands and built a self-serve platform where their influencer fans have a place to shine and earn. In retail, consumer confidence is key. Brands like Nike turn to Amit Sharma and his team at Nava to power their returns experience. Join Amit in conversation with Tracy Strober, Global Director of Retail Solutions and Customer Experience at Urban Outfitters, for an exploration of why consumer confidence is the critical component of e-commerce and how Nava turns returns into a seamless confidence-building experience. In this session at 1 p.m. Eastern today, Chipotle Mexican Grill Director of Loyalty and CRM Jason Scoggins and Gale Executive Creative Director Jason McCann will highlight the elements of Chipotle's CRM program that are central to building a brand, driving business, and connecting with members in relevant ways, including the tactics that drove membership up by more than 2x in 2020.
Breakout sessions at Retail Innovation Week are a chance for our community to learn from experts with real experience in the field. Through a mix of presentations, discussions, and Q&A, you'll get deep inside knowledge into the latest approaches around delivering effective e-commerce strategies.
See you at 1 p.m. on the stage and we'll direct you from there. So our next speaker is Jason Williams. He's VP of Athlete Technology at Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's has been exploring how to evolve the customer experience in store and digitally using data and other techniques. And I wanted to talk to Jason about the strategies they're employing, how they've responded to the moment, and their ambitions going forward. Jason, welcome.
Thank you, Pierce. It's been great to be here. Really excited to be part of the Retail Innovation Week event this week.
That's great. It's great to have you here as well. So let's get started. It's interesting to think about how technology supports the store, adds value to the store. There must be so many options as a VP of technology. Are there any kind of guiding principles about that help you decide which strategies to pursue, which tactics to pursue?
It's great from a business strategy perspective. We work very close with our stakeholders. So our product teams that we've initiated, work directly with our VPs or SVPs or EVPs to really understand what's their overall strategy, what's the end goal that they want to achieve, and then based on that, determine what are the strategic intents and the outcomes that we want to solve for. Based on that, we do discovery and framing to see what are the areas that we go back that we try to tackle first that is going to add the most value for our customer or for the business.
In terms of data, there must be a lot of data that's being gathered previously and even now, especially kind of as e-commerce sort of balances itself out. Can you talk to me a little bit about how the use of data and how that's driving both the business, the customer experience, maybe even the products that you carry?
Absolutely. We made a significant investment in data analytics, data products, data sciences around machine learning and AI. You see that with our personalization. You see that with our loyalty scorecard program. We have 20 million active users in our scorecard program. And all that goes with collecting all the data and the behavioral analysis and the clickstream data to understand, what are the buying behaviors of our customers, understand what their needs are, making sure we're offering the right assortment of products. It's something that we're going to continue to invest in. We've done it in the e-com space. We're doing it in the stores. And we think it's a key differentiator if you really want to understand what your athletes or your customers for another organization want and really want to leverage from your products and your brand.
Is there any investment in technology to support the store associates? Is there anything interesting?
Absolutely. So it's funny. We term, even though stores are our store technologies, it's termed as an athlete technology under my area, because if you help the teammate, in the end, you're going to help the athlete, right? Because they're going to be able to spend more time at the athlete. We're going to make their experience, the teammate in stores or in their DCs, more seamless, less friction. So we try to make that more productive. Through automation, through the products that we provide them, and in the end, it benefits the customer because they can spend more time in stores with the athlete.
As an expert in the consumer technology space, for our audience of retailers, our audience of brand manufacturers, and within the ecosystem, do you have any recommendations about where to kind of hedge bets, what type of either technologies or solutions to kind of focus on over the next 12, 18 months?
Yeah, without making any forward-looking statements, obviously there's some things that every organization should be taking in terms of technology. Taking a mobile-first approach, for instance, is something that we've done with our products, both for our teammates and for our athletes. Connectivity, with the Internet of Things and expanding connectivity options with 5G on the horizon, that's something we're focused on as well. Because we want to be able to leverage that across online, as well as stores to create that true omni-channel experience. And then to your point, data is the king. If you have and established good data practices, understand data, and you can use it and benefit your customers, it's something that will allow you to grow and expand your business.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jason. It's been fascinating to understand the business of, and I truly appreciate the kind of insight in terms of just how you make change happen. Jason Williams, VP of Athlete Technology at Dick's Sporting Goods. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierce.
Sometimes we don't think about a key component, which is customer service and how we service our customers during that purchase path, after that purchase path. And it's a key component within the e-commerce model as much as the real world retail experience as well. And so I wanted to bring in an expert in the space, Mike McCarron, who's VP of Sales at Gladly, to talk a little bit about how customer service is evolving within retail. Hi, Mike. Welcome to Retail Innovation Week.
Hey, Piers. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Maybe a few of us know about Gladly, but it'd be great if you can just give me a little context and give us the high-level pitch in terms of what Gladly does.
Yeah. So as an overview for folks that may not know who Gladly is a business-to-consumer customer service platform that is really in the market to challenge and sort of think differently about the kinds of customer service experiences that retail and commerce brands can deliver for their consumers. One of the big things that we noticed many, many years ago was that the legacy model of cases and tickets being used for customer service didn't necessarily apply well to the consumer experiences and the consumer service experiences that they were having and they were receiving from the brands. And so as a result, the consumer and the brand was under delivering or was underwhelmed in terms of how the service experience was working because they were using legacy ticket and case-based solutions to try to deliver highly personalized service, and it just simply wasn't working well.
So let's unpack that a little bit. I'd love to understand later, like what ultimately you deliver. But first of all, what are these new expectations and in terms of customer service, especially the ones that have been accelerated over the last 12 months?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that we have noticed, and I think this is something that is pretty common among a lot of consumer brands, is the traditional model of service has been thought of as these silos of channels that the customer can use to engage service, whether it be voice or email or chat or messaging. And as a result of that, most brands have had to adopt and implement and bolt on disparate third-party systems to create what's sort of being described in the market as an omni-channel customer service experience. But what that's essentially doing is it's creating a bunch of silos of communication across the various channels. But if you think from the consumer's perspective, the consumer doesn't think about the silos of communication. They think horizontally across all of the different channels that they could possibly use to engage service. And they choose to use the channel that's most convenient for them at that time. So whether it's a phone call or a chat or an email or a social media message or even an SMS, the consumer is thinking about the issue that they have with the brand. They're not thinking about what channel they're using. They're thinking about what is most convenient for them at that time. And brands need to start thinking about offering the ability for the consumer to engage the brand across those channels, but do it in a way that's very seamless so the agents are able to follow that conversation and follow that interaction regardless of the channel. That's an expectation that 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I don't think existed, but now it's certainly mainstream for consumers to think that way. And that's a big part of what sort of legacy technology and legacy ticketing systems haven't been able to deliver.
There seems to be a connectivity in terms of data and the flow of data. Can you just tell me a little bit about the role customer data plays in all of this?
Well, I think customer data plays an incredibly important role in delivering. So one of the key themes that Gladly really focuses on, and I think any consumer brand should be focusing on, is how do you deliver personalized service and how do you deliver sort of high value service to the customers that you do business with? If you know that customer, if you know their buying history, if you know their buying behaviors, if you know where they are relative to your loyalty program or VIP status, if you know the last time they reached out and whether that was a positive, a neutral, or maybe even a negative customer service experience, the more context of information you have about the person, the individual consumer, the better you are able to serve that customer in a very high touch, highly personalized way. And I think one of the key themes that we continue to see both in working with our existing customers, as well as just doing some independent third-party surveys, is that consumers value being known and feeling valued by the brand that they do business with. And they want the service experience to be an extension of the in-store experience that they have. And clearly that's even more important now, given that many consumers are actually foregoing the in-person experience, and they're sort of doing a lot of shopping, and a lot of sales is happening online. How do brands deliver highly personalized service to consumers when the only way to engage them is through the customer service channel?
There's been some conversation about frontline employees, whether they're frontline within a call center or service center and frontline within a store. Maybe you can talk to me about some ways that companies need to be empowering these associates to provide best-in-class customer experience.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of ways to do that. Certainly from a traditional customer service sort of experience perspective, the frontline team that's engaging with consumers to solve problems and to address issues, one of the most important things is you want to empower that frontline team to be able to resolve issues quickly. So one of the big factors that consumers appreciate a lot when it comes to service experiences is, am I talking to somebody or engaging with somebody who is empowered to solve my problem? Are they empowered to sort of address the issue that they have, and can I get the issue resolved quickly? So being able to do that and being able to empower those agents with the ability to sort of take care of that customer's issue is a big component and a big factor of delivering great service. Another big factor of empowering the frontline service team is to provide them with the knowledge and the education and the content that they need to deliver the level of service, whether it be product questions or return policy or other related things. Having frontline agents feel like they have access to the information and the knowledge that they need to address those questions is certainly an important part of the customer service experience as well. When you start to incorporate maybe even some of the in-store experiences, so one of the things that we saw over the course of the last 9 months was obviously the shutdown of a lot of the retail store experiences. You had all of this domain expertise and knowledge of store associates, stylists, and personal shoppers, and people who really understood the products and services that their company were offering. Those skill sets were oftentimes very different than what you would find in the traditional contact center. But now that a lot of people have taken their in-store sales and they've migrated and moved those over to a more of an e-commerce online digital sales experience, what we're finding is that customer service teams are starting to leverage the in-store domain expertise, and they're starting to find opportunities to help them provide online consultation of styling and personal shoppers or things of that nature, so that the customer service team, which has traditionally not been in the store, you now have an extension of that customer service team that includes store associates that have more of a sales orientation to how they engage, but they also are domain experts in terms of products and services that the company has to offer their customers. And that combination of great service, but also great high value sales experiences and high value stylist experiences can help deliver a really positive experience for consumers that are looking for help.
Yeah, we've spoken to a couple of retailers during this conference where they've found just that. They've kept their staff, their retail staff, on board and trained them as customer service people, and they have realized that it brings so much added value having these people who have had face-to-face communications with customers and experience the product, and they can bring that into kind of a digital experience. And then after that immersion, they can then take that back to the store, and they will take that back to the store.
Yeah, and I think that what oftentimes will happen too is, I don't think that it might be that the retail store associates sort of move away from the traditional customer service role, or at least this sort of temporary sort of location that they've been working or operating as part of an extension of the customer service team. But I think a lot of the leading innovative customer service organizations are going to start to recognize that having staff on the contact center or customer service team that is more sales oriented and is more sort of design oriented around sort of helping to provide sales support, that's going to become part of the team structure, or part of the skill set, I think, of a lot of really innovative customer service teams, because they're going to move away from being very reactive, transactional, I'm going to solve the problem and then move on to the next issue, to being much more collaborative, proactive, and sales oriented, to try to turn what's traditionally viewed as a cost center into more of a revenue center. So how do you take that experience where you have a client or a customer or a consumer live on a chat or on a phone call? how do you turn that service experience into a sales opportunity to drive more upsell or cross-sell of what you bring to market?
Certainly, we really like that idea of kind of rethinking customer service and rethinking of it as a revenue center rather than a cost center. To close, maybe we can talk a little bit about how Crate and Barrel leveraged Gladly to evolve its kind of issue resolution, and they've been able to think about how to drive sales through it.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is that if you think about the shift, obviously everything sort of changed quite considerably in the February-March timeframe, where a lot of companies had to rethink how they were going to engage in that service experience. And the notion of people walking into a store was not non-existent. There was just no opportunity to do that. So they had to find ways to continue to drive sales and to continue to drive a great customer experience, despite a lot of the challenges that existed. And I think Crate and Barrel is a great example of that. And now you could sort of say that if there was a company or a segment of the market that was influenced in a positive way by shelter in place or stay at home orders, it's a company that offers home furnishing and kitchen appliances and kitchen sort of products, because everybody was home cooking and they were all sitting on their old couches and they were thinking, I need something new, right? So the idea that Crate and Barrel had this opportunity to engage, and again, part of the example I mentioned before, where they were taking sales associates that were really great at understanding design and style and sort of the product expertise, and they were leveraging that domain expertise in the contact center world, was a big part of what they ended up doing. And what they ended up providing for customers was not only the sales consultation and the design consultation, but they made it very easy through the Gladly customer service platform to process the actual purchase of an item. So whether it be a lamp or a side table, even like $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 couches that they were selling, people were buying those kinds of large ticket items online via chat, sight unseen. Like they weren't walking into a store and sitting down, but they were using the knowledge and the domain expertise of the sales associate that they were talking to get a feel and to get a sense of what that item would be like. And they were actually completing the purchase online via the chat capability built into Gladly. So they saw just a tremendous amount of sales and sales revenue come through that service experience, because it was highly personalized, it was high touch with a really domain expert, knowledgeable person, and it was a very seamless experience to move from chat right into a chat payment that Gladly provided for them.
That's wonderful. So it's been really interesting and quite eye-opening to think about new opportunities we have here with customer service and the power of customer service. Mike McCarron, VP of Sales at Gladly, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks for being part of Retail Innovation Week.
Thank you for your time as well. Appreciate being here.
Wow, what a great series of experts. They really helped us understand topic of the day, understand the different ways to kind of think about the future of retail. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. We will be releasing the whole day as a video, and you'll be able to share that with colleagues, deep dive, and so forth. Thanks for being part of Retail Innovation Week. The community is as important a part of Retail Innovation Week as the speakers are, as the PSFK researchers are. So I hope you join us at a future event. Thanks for coming.
Hey peers, haven't you forgotten something?
Oh yeah? Remind folks about the breakouts at 1 or Jeff will freak.
We had rehearsed this, remember?
I'm sorry, voice.
Takes one to know one.
Okay, found it. Press play. Hey everybody, it's Piers here. I just wanted to stop a second and remind you about the breakout sessions that start at 1 p.m. Eastern today. The breakout format is new this year for Retail Innovation Week, and during the session you'll be able to join different rooms that have concurrent conversations, and if you choose you can leave one and enter another. Speakers at today's breakout sessions will help our community understand how to take advantage of the new platforms powering a new era of e-commerce. Okay, so who's speaking at the breakouts on day one? With stores closing, the fear of shopping in crowds increasing, and consumers choosing to shop online, our retail experiences are bound to change. If you're prepared and informed, you can still create the excellent customer experience online. Join Andy Nosp for a conversation about the steps to create a memorable online experience for your customers. 2020 saw accelerated adoption of AR and VR experiences within retail as the need to deliver the rich sensory and store experience anywhere has become mission critical. With the help of our moderator Neil Redding, learn from Neha Singh and Cosmo Kramer about how obsessed and but real are powering virtual showroom experiences for Levi's Farfetch and others. We are excited to have Antonio Squio, CIO at Headless Innovation, lead a conversation about how fashion brands can combine art culture and emotion in the augmented store of the future. He will be presenting ways in which Headless is weaving historical, aesthetic, and narrative experiences into digital brand expressions. We will also be joined by Lisa Green, SVP of Brand Partnerships and Operations at the Yes. She will be running a deep dive into how her AI-powered commerce platform is delivering customized and personalized shopper experiences on behalf of brands ranging from Prada to Levi's, from Zara to Everlane. Brands are piling into buy now, pay later solutions, driving triple-digit revenue growth and enhancing loyalty at once. Join QuadPay co-founder Brad Lindenberg for an insider POV on the payments revolution unfolding right before our eyes. Adore Me, a DTC lingerie brand, has taken a fresh approach to engaging micro-influencers. Ranjan Roy, Vice President of Strategy at Adore Me, will pull back the curtain on how his brand took matters into their own hands and built a self-serve platform where their influencer fans have a place to shine and earn. Brands like Nike turned to Amit Sharma and his team at Nava to power their returns experience. Join Amit for an exploration of why consumer confidence is the critical component of e-commerce and how Nava turns returns into a seamless, confidence-building experience. As consumer expectations for commerce experiences continue to rise, retailers are increasingly required to deliver next-level service on each individual customer's preferred channel and supply tailored to meet experience each time. The result is a new retail reality that is digital-first, fluid, and agile. In this presentation, the team from PSFK will discuss the exciting opportunities for businesses to not only connect directly with consumers on their own terms, but also to deliver and amplify the personalization on demand service and media integration that consumers have come to expect.
Breakout sessions at Retail Innovation Week are a chance for our community to learn from experts with real experience in the field. Through a mix of presentations, discussions, and Q&A, you'll get deep inside knowledge into the latest approaches around delivering effective e-commerce strategies.
See you at 1 p.m. on the stage and we'll direct you from there.
That seemed to work.
Yeah, see you at those sessions. This is your host, Piers Fox, and we're excited to have you join us for today's breakout sessions. Welcome. While we wait for everyone to join us, I'm going to take a few minutes explaining the format, and then I'll run through who we have speaking at breakout sessions on day one. Now in its third year, Retail Innovation Week brings together business leaders, change agents, and retail practitioners to engage in a week of conversation about the future of retail. On the first day of Retail Innovation Week, we have been exploring the latest strategies around delivering effective e-commerce strategies. Speakers at today's breakout sessions will help our community understand how to take advantage of the new platforms powering a new era of e-commerce. The breakout format is new this year for Retail Innovation Week, and during the session you'll be able to join different rooms that have concurrent conversations, and if you choose you can leave one and enter another. Let's get my colleague Jeff Weiner to take us through how to get into each of the rooms.
You'll see here that when the event is live, you can visit the stage, you can visit sessions, and you can network. Let's take a look at sessions. So if we click over on sessions right here, you'll see that we have a number of different sessions to choose from. You can go into any of these sessions. You can jump around between sessions as well.
Jeff and his team will also be manning the chat box, so if you get lost or confused, just send a message. Okay, so who's speaking on day one? Let's look at the list of experts who will help our community understand how to take advantage of the new platforms powering a new era of e-commerce. With stores closing, the fear of shopping in crowds increasing, and consumers choosing to shop online, our retail experiences are bound to change. Providing your customers with an easy, effortless experience can feel like a challenge even in the best of times. Not all is lost. If you're prepared and informed, you can still create the excellent customer experience online. Join Andy Nosp for a conversation about 4 steps to create a memorable online experience for your customers. 2020 saw accelerated adoption of AR and VR experiences within retail as the need to deliver the rich sensory and store experience anywhere has become mission critical. With the help of our moderator Neil Rading, learn from Neha Singh and Cosmo Kramer about how Obsess and BitReal are powering virtual showroom experiences for Levi's Farfetch and others. We are excited to have Antonio Squio, CIO at Headless Innovation, lead a conversation about how fashion brands can combine art culture and emotion in the augmented store of the future. He will be presenting ways in which Headless is weaving historical, aesthetic, and narrative experiences into digital brand expressions. We will also be joined by Lisa Green, SVP of Brand Partnerships and Operations at the Yes. She will be running a deep dive into how her AI-powered commerce platform is delivering customized and personalized shopper experiences on behalf of brands ranging from Prada to Levi's, from Zara to Everlane. Brands are piling into buy now, pay later solutions, driving triple-digit revenue growth and enhancing loyalty all at once. Join QuadPay co-founder Brad Lindenberg for an insider POV on the payments revolution unfolding right before our eyes. Adore Me, a DTC lingerie brand, has taken a fresh approach to engaging micro-influencers. Ranjan Roy, Vice President of Strategy at Adore Me, will pull back the curtain on how his brand took matters into their own hands and built a self-serve platform where their influencer fans have a place to shine and earn. If you are like most, you check the return policy before completing an e-commerce transaction. This is the final and most important step in the digital transaction process. Consumer confidence is key. Brands like Nike turn to Amit Sharma and his team at Nava to power their returns experience. Join Amit for an exploration of why consumer confidence is the critical component of e-commerce and how Nava turns returns into a seamless, confidence-building experience. As consumer expectations for commerce experiences continue to rise, retailers are increasingly required to deliver next-level service on each individual customer's preferred channel and supply tailored to meet experience each time. The result is a new retail reality that is digital first, fluid, and agile. In this presentation, the team from PSFK will discuss the exciting opportunities for businesses to not only connect directly with consumers on their own terms, but also to deliver and amplify the personalization on demand service and media integration that consumers have come to expect. With stores closing, the fear of shopping in crowds increasing, and consumers choosing to shop online, our retail experiences are bound to change. If you're prepared and informed, you can still create the excellent customer experience online. Join Andy Nosp for a conversation about the steps to create a memorable online experience for your customers. 2020 saw accelerated adoption of AR and VR experiences within retail as the need to deliver the rich sensory and store experience anywhere has become mission critical. With the help of our moderator Neil Redding, learn from Neha Singh and Cosmo Kramer about how obsessed and but real are powering virtual showroom experiences for Levi's Farfetch and others. We are excited to have Antonio Squio, CIO at Heverless Innovation, lead a conversation about how fashion brands can combine art culture and emotion in the augmented store of the future. He will be presenting ways in which Heverless is weaving historical, aesthetic, and narrative experiences into digital brand expressions. We will also be joined by Lisa Green, SVP of Brand Partnerships and Operations at the Yes. She will be running a deep dive into how her AI-powered commerce platform is delivering customized and personalized shopper experiences on behalf of brands ranging from Prada to Levi's, from Zara to Everlane. Brands are piling into buy now, pay later solutions, driving triple-digit revenue growth and enhancing loyalty at once. Join QuadPay co-founder Brad Lindenberg for an insider POV on the payments revolution unfolding right before our eyes. As you may have seen in the talk on the PSF case stage ELI, Adore Me has taken a fresh approach to engaging micro-influencers. Ranjan Roy, Vice President of Strategy at the DTC lingerie brand, will pull back the curtain on how his brand took matters into their own hands and built a self-serve platform where their influencer fans have a place to shine and earn. In retail, consumer confidence is key. Brands like Nike turn to Amit Sharma and his team at Nava to power their returns experience. Join Amit in conversation with Tracy Strober, Global Director of Retail Solutions and Customer Experience at Urban Outfitters, for an exploration of why consumer confidence is the critical component of e-commerce and how Nava turns returns into a seamless confidence-building experience. In this session at Today, Chipotle Mexican Grill Director of Loyalty and CRM Jason Scoggins and Gale Executive Creative Director Jason McCann will highlight the elements of Chipotle's CRM program that are central to building a brand, driving business, and connecting with members in relevant ways, including the tactics that drove membership up by more than 2x in 2020. Breakout sessions at Retail Innovation Week are a chance for our community to learn from experts with real experience in the field. Through a mix of presentations, discussions, and Q&A, you'll get deep inside knowledge into the latest strategies around delivering effective e-commerce strategies. Now it's time to jump into the sessions and meet the speakers. Hey Jeff, can you repeat the instructions?
Let's take a look at sessions. So if we click over on sessions right here, you'll see that we have a number of different sessions to choose from. You can go into any of these sessions. You can jump around between sessions as well.
Enjoy, and do use that chat if you need help.